next up, we are going to have keynote speaker Nancy Wattmore, and she's going to be talking to us about confidence, having that confidence to take the deep dive. And so I will let Nancy introduce herself. She will give her presentation, and then towards the end, we will have a question and answer period. So if anyone has any questions that they want to answer while she's giving her introduction, you can put it in the Q&A down the bottom of the screen, and then at the end, we will filter those questions. Enjoy. Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you so much, Kalina, and thank you so much for inviting me. So the title of my talk today is Confidence to Take the Deep Dive. So we can look at this in two ways: deep diving into perhaps a new project or venture, or deep diving into ourselves. So we'll look at a little bit of both, but mostly looking into ourselves. I wanted to say that it's quite exciting to be here, just hearing Minister Tene and hearing Kalina just describe the day. I've already learned something. I didn't realize it was Women's Entrepreneurship Day, so that's cool. And I wanted you all to just take the time to acknowledge that it's amazing that you're here and that you're taking the time for you. It shows that you want to learn and that you want to grow. So I recently just pulled up some stats on the internet, and one of them that stood out for me was that 85% of people lack confidence. So today we'll try and get to work and see if we can get a little bit more of that. I'd like you all to take out a paper and pencil, so you can either take notes, or also I'll be asking a few questions and you might want to jot that down, so it'll just be helpful for yourself. And I'm just going to introduce myself briefly. So here's me with my husband, my now 11-year-old son, and our now 13-year-old dog. I live in Montreal, born and raised here. I am fully bilingual, English and French. And my background in the last few decades has been multinational biopharmaceutical companies, where I held various roles as a salesperson, as health education, patient relations. And when I was in that role, I burnt out. So a few years ago, I burnt out. I thought it was more involving work. However, I saw that it was my whole life needed some revamping. And that's how I got into life coaching. And life coaching made me realize that I can be the one who holds the keys to my future, to my kingdom. And it's ultimately my thoughts that are going to lead to my outcomes through the actions that I take. So I completely changed careers, and I went and did a life coaching certification. And I work now as a life coach, empowering mostly women to reach their full potential, to enjoy their life more. Because we all kind of just need some help sometimes, just to see how great we really are. I work one-on-one with people on various different topics. However, I focus a lot on burnout, parental burnout, and decision-making. So let's get into the outline for today, this morning. So we're going to talk about what confidence is, why we need it, why we might be lacking confidence, how to create more. And as Kalina mentioned, there'll be a question period afterwards. So one of the good things is that you're the only person that can create your self-confidence. You don't have to depend on anyone else or anything else. So that's something to celebrate already. So what is confidence? So confidence is believing in yourself, and it's not based on an ability, but rather a trust in yourself, a higher level confidence and trust in yourself. So if we already know how to do something, we don't necessarily need that self-confidence to do it. So these are for doing those things that are scary. And Minister Tene earlier said, from a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, she mentioned, "You must do the things you think you cannot." And that's a lot about what we do for building our self-confidence. So it's believing and trusting in yourself. And it's also being able to do those things that scare us, that make us feel uncomfortable, but knowing that we'll have our own back and that we're going to be fine. Because all we're really dealing with is the fears and the potential judgment that we think people will have against us, etc. Also, being self-confident puts you out there as a leader. And as humans, we are pack animals and we like to look for that leader. I don't know if you've ever been, I'm sure you've been separated into a group of people before, and we're always looking for who that leader will be. And so by having self-confidence, you're almost giving everyone that description of how to see you. And why do you need self-confidence? So you need it to be able to do the actions and to move forward towards your goals. So I'll have you all just think about a big goal that you have coming up or in your plans. So you have that huge goal. There's probably a ton of things that you don't know how to do, but you think you'll have to do to get to that goal. So maybe think about, or even jot down one of those things you think you're going to need to do to achieve that goal. Something that's scary for you, something that is uncomfortable, and just keep that in mind. So I'll give you an example. Perhaps you want to open a consulting business. So there's going to be a lot of different steps that you'll have to take before getting all of that done and having your business going. So maybe there's some legal work that you'll have to do, deciding who your client is, deciding what service you want to offer. You'll likely have to do some presenting to some key decision makers who will hire you, and you'll have to sell. And selling can be a no-brainer to some, but to others it can be super uncomfortable and awkward. So you'll need that self-confidence to do that. I'll give you another example from my life. I train in karate, and when you have a black belt, or to get your black belt, it's expected that you'll be teaching. And I do not necessarily love teaching karate. I find I feel awkward, I feel nervous, I judge myself a lot. And we teach in English, French, and Japanese, so I feel like I'm tripping on my words. However, I've done that uncomfortable. I've taught. I continue to do that, not on a daily basis, but every couple of weeks I teach. And I see that I feel stronger inside, and I see myself moving forward. So to achieve that goal, I'm needing to do that uncomfortable. So I'm going to ask you now just to think about your confidence on a scale of 1 to 4, 1 being not confident at all, 4 being confident, super confident. You could be the president, or you could be the CEO of a company that you love. And just jot that down. So I'm going to venture a guess that most of us are a 2 or a 3. So why aren't we all a 4? How come? So often we're basing our confidence on external things, on getting that job, on what people think of you. And if you're trying to get your confidence from what people think of you, that's going to be a roller coaster ride, because it's going to be constantly changing. That person will like what you did, and then they won't like what you did. Someone will love you, someone will just be indifferent to you. So you're always at the mercy of other people's thoughts or of things that are happening. And those are always changing. If you look at a recently achieved goal of yours, so let's say you had a goal to pay off your mortgage and you've paid it off. You've spent years saving, putting money away, etc., and you've achieved your goal of paying your mortgage, and you're super happy. Yeah, you've done it. And then you have that next goal to save so much money, a certain amount of money for your RSP. So you have that other goal you're leading to. So if you're putting your confidence into this achievement, yeah, you achieved it there, you're confident there, but then it's gone. You're reaching out for the next one. Not that goals are not good. They're awesome. However, if we're putting all our confidence in those things, you have no power over it. And it's really all about your internal mindset, and you're the one who's in charge and who has the power. So it's really an inside game to be confident. So I'm going to ask you, and maybe even jot down how many ring true for you. You ever heard yourself say, I don't know how? I certainly have. And really, if I'm telling myself I don't know how, I don't even know how I'm going to know if I'm just thinking in that way. Another one is, what will people think of me? Really, who cares? Because something that is new to me and that I don't think I thought of much before is that the most important relationship that you have is the one with yourself. And that's where your confidence is going to come from. Another one, failure is weakness. I'm sure I've heard that growing up. And failure actually is something that helps you grow. You learn from it. I don't think nobody really has fun when they fail. However, it shows that that was not the right road and that there's another road you need to try. I'm not good enough. So what is good enough? Is it after 1 degree, 3 degrees, a master's degree, a certain age? It's just, I'm not good enough. Just, that's not going to help either. Another myth, I will say, is when you're confident, you're comfortable and you're not afraid. Well, that is a complete no, because to gain confidence, as Eleanor Roosevelt said, you need to do the things that you feel you can't, and that can be scary. So how do we do this? And can it be done? I mentioned how our most important relationship is the one with our own self. So it's interesting to start looking at what you say or think about yourself. And as humans, we're wired to stay away from danger. We don't want to do the things that scare us. And there was a reason for that way back when. However, it's not the same now. And doing the things that are uncomfortable, scary, they're seen as dangerous. So we try to protect ourselves by not doing them, not being courageous. We also, as humans, have a negativity bias. We critique ourselves. We look for the things that are wrong. We look for the negative, and that's also kind of a way of protecting ourselves. So how many times do we second guess or use the famous should? And the should-isms everywhere are not very constructive to us. I should have done it this way. I should have said this. Oh, I should have taken that job. I should have gone into this field of work. So if you're looking at things out of curiosity and to learn and to grow, great. However, more often than not, we're criticizing ourselves. And if you've ever had someone start to tell you all the things that you've done wrong, it doesn't feel very good. And you're certainly not feeling strong and confident. So think about how you're doing that to yourself. So we're going to look at the first way that I will suggest that we can grow our confidence. And I kind of call it a reframe, or ask different questions. So I'm sure you've all heard of that quote around the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Well, the same can be true for thinking the same thing over and over again and then expecting that we're going to have a different outcome or reach our goal. So let's start to fire up our big, beautiful brains to find some answers for you. So thinking, I will never have my own business. How does that feel for you? So for me, if I say I'll never have my own business and that's something that I really want, I don't see how I can go out there and start working towards it, at least not with any oomph. And what kind of actions will likely come from thinking that? It's certainly not going to be the actions that are going to get me to having my own business. So I'll say, ask yourself, ask your brain, what things can you do today to have my own business in the future? And just by flipping that and looking at it differently and asking yourself differently, you start thinking of things. Okay, perhaps I could do an informational interview with someone that's a business owner. Perhaps I could start looking at what I would like to do. So there's all kinds of things that you'll start bringing. It actually allows you to look at the possibilities rather than the impossibilities. And it unlocks so many ideas and actions that you didn't even realize that you had in there. My challenge to you here would be, how can you start asking yourself different questions to pick apart the not so useful thoughts that you might have running through your head? Because the more you think these things, they become belief. And they're not necessarily facts, it's just things that you thought were true. So here's another one. I don't know how. How am I supposed to know anything if I'm constantly thinking, I don't know how, and I just block myself there? You might want to ask yourself instead, how can I figure this out? And then I know for me, things that would pop into my mind would be, okay, I'm going to go see so-and-so because they know how to do it. I'm going to do some research. I'm going to take a course. I'm going to hire someone to do it. So already all those answers come up and you're not feeling in that place of stuck. I don't know how. You're feeling more empowered already. Who am I to think I'll be able to get the dream job? If I'm walking into an interview and I'm thinking this way, I'm not so certain that the interview is going to go fabulously. So you might want to just reframe that thought with asking yourself a different question. What can I do now that will bring me closer to that job? So then you might start looking at, well, what kind of things do I already have as part of the job description? Who do I know that does that job that I can do informational interview with? So on and so forth. So you're allowing your brain to just explore more, and you're just using your own power to find the answers. The next way you can grow your confidence is to do a dare. And you can make this fun, like a game if you want. And I'd say I challenge you to do a dare a day, at least for the next week, and see how that feels for you. So growing up, I know that sometimes as kids, you kind of dare each other to do things. I dare you to ring that doorbell and run away. I dare you to do a prank call. It could be actions. I dare you to jump in that freezing cold lake, all kinds of things like that. And we do it kind of for fun. And it's the scary things. So you've probably heard that phrase, skin in the game. And that means, and it can pertain to confidence as well, if you don't risk, skin can be seen as the risk. So if you don't risk anything to achieve your goal, and the goal being the game, so the risk being the fear of being judged, the fear of failing, etc., the game being the goal. So you need to have some skin in the game to be able to get some confidence. In French, we have a saying which translates to, you can't make an omelet without breaking eggs. So here you can't gain your confidence if you're not going to step out there and do those things. Challenge yourself to do those things that are uncomfortable, scary, and just make you nervous. I'll give you some examples. Perhaps some of the dares that you could do in the next week is singing karaoke. Some people would be terrified of that. Writing a social media post. I know I've seen a lot of people, and sometimes for me as well, you just feel so vulnerable putting things out there. But that could be a dare, and see how you feel afterwards. Talking to someone in the elevator. Elevators are a weird place because everyone's facing the door. Everyone's looking at the number. No one's saying a word. So maybe you can be that odd duck that starts talking to people and see how that feels. Growing up, I was super shy. And when I got to a new high school, it kind of went around that I was a snob. And it made me feel bad because I wasn't. I didn't know how to approach people. Yes, I had some friends from my elementary school days, but it was hard for me to talk to people. So I worked really hard to be able to meet people, make the small talk, even get deeper with people. So much so that every time that I took a flight, I was so excited because I was going to meet somebody new on the plane. Yes, I am that person, the person that wants to chat your ear off on a flight. Mind you, I'll leave you alone if it's not something that you want to do. But I've met so many interesting people and had great conversations doing that. And had I not tried to gain more confidence, I would never have been there. And recently I was doing a boot camp class with my instructor, Steve, and he said, as we were trying to do burpees, which I absolutely hate, it's hard and it sucks, but pushing through makes us stronger, and that's how we grow. And that's exactly the same thing for confidence, because confidence, the more you do it, the more you're going to increase your capacity to have confidence. Another thing is be your own mentor. So what does that mean? Be your own mentor. So you know how we did the reframe earlier by asking ourselves different questions? Our brains are amazingly powerful, and you've likely heard we only use a small part of it. So let's try and use a little bit more of it. So think about that big goal you have. And perhaps it's 6 months down the road, a year, 2 years. Imagine you've achieved it. So you're that person. So start to look at your things today based on who you will be in the future. I know it sounds kind of hard or strange, but just, trust me. Start looking at it as, what would I do, Nancy, with that business? Who owns that business? I'm the CEO of that business. What will I be doing today? How will I respond to this? What kind of actions will I be taking? Who will I be meeting? What will I be thinking? So you're really looking at it through, you're being your future self, but through your eyes of today, or is that vice versa? So you're tapping into some wisdom that you didn't realize you have. And I'd be curious to know, so anyone can send me out messages, what you found from that. Another question could be, what would confidence do? So what would confidence do? I know confidence is not a person, but bear with me. So let's say I'm going to interview Oprah Winfrey. So I think she's amazing. And I'm a starstruck, I would say. She's achieved so many things. And I know I would be super nervous. I wouldn't want to make a fool of myself. I wouldn't want to trip over my words. I wouldn't want to offend her with any of the questions or anything like that. And then I sit there and I say, what would confidence do? So I start thinking, what would confidence do? Confidence would smile. Confidence would enjoy. Confidence would see the other person as a human being just like you and just have a good time doing it. So you might even say, it's a little bit like faking it till you make it. So you're being that person, or you're acting like that person because you know that you're going to achieve that goal. You have that belief in yourself and that confidence that you're going to achieve that goal. So just to go over the 3 points, we reframe by asking different questions. And really, it's possible to start thinking different things. With the neuroplasticity of our brains, we can rewire to think differently. So I was going to call it rewiring or reframing, but reframe I kind of liked better. So that is possible. You can change how you constantly think about things. It just takes practice. Confidence grows confidence. So we talked about doing those dares, doing the scary things, doing the things that make us nervous, and doing them over and over again, doing new things. And that's where that challenge to do a dare a day is. And in that way, you're expanding your capacity to have confidence. So you'll have more and more. Be your own mentor. So you're looking at that, you're looking at what the future self would do. It's kind of like focusing on what inspires you rather than what scares you. So by being your future self, looking at how your future self would react, you're looking at the inspiration that you've created being your future self. And you're focusing on that rather than right now, I don't know how to do it, or this is all new to me and this is scary, et cetera, et cetera. So I want you to all think about, what will it cost you without it? Without confidence, what is it going to cost you? Because it sounds like it might feel like it costs you something to go and do those uncomfortable things. But what will it cost you not to have self-confidence? Perhaps you won't get that job that you've always dreamed of having. Maybe you'll never do that trip abroad that you've had on your bucket list because you're too scared to go somewhere where you don't understand the language. Maybe it'll be you'll never have that home that you've always dreamed of because you're scared to be in debt and to have a mortgage. So it might even be not what people will you never have met because you didn't reach out to someone just to talk because you felt like, oh, I don't know them, or they seem better than me, or whatever thoughts might come through your mind. So I'll say to you, stop allowing yourself to play small and go big. Try those dares. Work on your confidence. As I mentioned, confidence is a muscle, so you need to work it out. Yes, do the uncomfortable things. There's a little quote that I saw recently, and I loved it. And it was, self-confidence is the best outfit. Rock it and own it. So I'll say to you, go out there and do that. And I forgot to read the last quote Jeff Bezos made about, let me just go back there, because that one stood out for me as well. I knew that if I failed, I would not regret it. I knew the one thing I might regret is not trying. And that definitely can be the cost. The cost is not trying. Failing isn't such a big deal. It's how we learn. So I will challenge you all to go out there and do those dares. If any of you have questions, I know that the Q&A box is open. And I'd like to thank you for investing your time in yourself today. It's one of the best investments you can make. And if you'd like to reach out to me, my email is there. I have some of these questions and others that can get you thinking about how you can increase your confidence capacity. or if you have any questions later today or after the day, feel free to send me that message. Thanks. Hi, Kalina.
Hi, Nancy. I just want to give a round of applause. Ladies, please give a round of applause to Nancy. She has given us a lot to think about, a great conversation starter about confidence. And we know how important, or we should know how important confidence is in, whether you're working for someone else, starting your own business, or, you're working as an entrepreneur. We know that it's going to be important in building that. I know for me, a takeaway was, being in charge of your own internal mindset and knowing that it starts on the inside. And I think mindset change is a hard one for people. I think that it's really something to think about and how you're going to do that, because you're stuck in your way. You've been that way for a long time, and having to figure that out, it's just going to take a lot. So I'm glad that you at least started the conversation. Ladies, it is open up to you to do Q&A. If you have a comment or a question, put it in the chat and I will filter it through Nancy. So we do look like we have one. Erika has started us off with great start to the day. So grateful for that. Then we have Joyce. Yes, wonderful comment and quotes. Reframing. Yes, our brain is powerful. And so glad to have those guys put those in. And if anyone else has any questions, please put them in the chat. One question I had, Nancy, is do you do coaching for persons overseas, i.e. international? And so if, someone in Bermuda, for say, wants to seek your services, is that possible?
Yes, my coaching is one-on-one. So every program that I put together is based on that person's needs. And we do it either by phone or Zoom, so on video. Most of the time it's on video. So yes, I do have clients from all over the world, and that's actually what makes it exciting as well. I wanted to say something else. I know some questions that I get about self-confidence, or that I even had when I was first starting to look into confidence, was what's the difference between confidence and arrogance? Because sometimes someone who maybe is trying to be self-confident is actually being more arrogant, and it's putting other people down to raise yourself. So it's actually, you're not feeling confident because you're trying to put others down to make you feel better. So that's one of them. And you also mentioned mindset, and that can be a hard one. And it's true. We don't want to look at or dig into those things that we're thinking. We just kind of, okay. And I know when I was talking, I don't mean positive thinking is great, but it's not always that. It has to be something that's comfortable. And it's more looking at how you could be looking at things, not just blanketing a positive statement on it to make it work. So those are just a few things I wanted to clarify. I see a few questions here.
Yeah, so we have the idea of doing a dare a day resonates with me. Thanks for the reminder. That's Michelle White. We have Ashray, who has said, thank you, Nancy. We have Erika that said, can you speak more about failure not being a death sentence? A lot of people decide not to try because of fear of failure.
So I'll say to you, what's the worst that can happen if you fail something? Really, exactly that. You're not going to die. We're not out in the wilderness where if you fail to run faster than that lion, you'll be eaten. It's not that. So if you fail something, so the worst that you're going to happen is you're going to feel maybe embarrassed. You're going to feel stupid, maybe. You're going to feel judged. And those are just feelings. So you're just, okay, that's what happens. That person thought I was crap. So that's what it is. I'm going to stay in my confidence. That's their thought. It doesn't have to be everyone's thought. So it's a little bit of that. And failure, really, when we're born, we don't know anything. We're learning new things as we go along. And you start to crawl, you start to walk, you fall, you fail. That's how you learn. And it's one of our greatest teachers.
Okay, so the next question is from Latoya. Are there any small steps that suggest taking to boost your confidence?
So when I talked about the dare, you can do some that you find a little bit smaller. So if I mentioned posting on social media, some people find that scary. Maybe for you, Latoya, it's something else. Maybe it's applying for a certain job. Maybe that scares you. Maybe it's speaking to a boss about a raise. Or it could be even smaller things. So those things can be little things that'll boost your confidence. I know that when I've done new things or challenged myself to do new things, which I'm trying to do more and more, no matter what has happened with what I've done, I feel better. Well, first of all, it's kind of like a check. I've done it. Yay, I did it. I'm proud that I did it. But it also shows me that I'm able to do it. And look, I'm still standing. I'm still here. It kind of also fits to the earlier answer from Erika about failure. You see that you're still there. Nothing really bad has happened. The sky hasn't fallen.
The next question we have from Joyce. What are some of the conversation starters she uses on the plane?
Well, it's been a while that I've flown with COVID, but it's always hello and where are you from? Where are you going? That kind of thing. But often it'll be, if we're talking about where we're going, we're going to talk about what are you planning to do there, or what's something exciting that you'd like to do. And sometimes I've had in other cases where you have, you're meeting new people and you don't always want to talk about that, oh, so what do you do for a living? Because sometimes people don't like that. Depending what they do, maybe they feel self-conscious about what they do. So it could be, what's something amazing that you did today? Or what's the best thing that happened to you today? It could be things like that.
Okay, we have Kalisha. She's saying, very useful information. Self-confidence is the beginning for me. And then we have Francia who says, use your inner wisdom. Using your inner wisdom is definitely key. At times, some women have a tendency to second guess themselves.
Oh my goodness, that is so true. And why do we do that? Because we're scared the way someone might look at us. We are not standing in our confidence. But you know what? You can look at those things and say, okay, what did I learn from that?
Yeah, I think another one is that failure piece. I think that's very important, especially in this day and age, because we need to continue to tell ourselves failure is not an option. And like you said earlier as well, it depends on how you look at failure. Because failure only tells you that, okay, it failed this way, so what else I need to do? How can I change? How can I pivot? How can I move on? It's only a stepping stone to improve what you're already doing, or just to realize that maybe that's not for me and do something else. So it's just, like you said, again, changing your mindset to know that people don't have to look at these things as failure as being something bad. It can be something positive, like to say, okay, well, that wasn't for me, move on and do something else. So like I said, I think that mindset piece, that shift is going to be very important in building that confidence and just taking us to the next level.
Exactly, because if you're looking at the negative part of failure, and in life it's half, 50-50, the negative, the positive. But if you look at the failure and you say, okay, what kind of good things can I take from that? Or what are the good things that happened in this, what we think was a disaster? Because there's always little nuggets in there. There's always things that we can pull from that. And just that kind of takes the lightness off of what you felt was a failure.
Yes, for sure. All right, ladies, we have 3 more minutes to be able to pick Nancy's brain. We're getting some free information while we can. So if anyone has any more questions or any more comments, please put in the Q&A, and then just trying to get as much information, get as much information as we can from her, especially on this great topic of self-confidence and taking that deep dive. So if anyone has any more questions, just pop them in the chat and we can filter them.
I'd love to hear. You can always send me an email, some of those dares that you've done. and how you felt afterwards, because that's always a fun one. What kind of dares can you do?
So Tiffany says, great session, Nancy. When we are true to our personal values in situations, it always builds self-confidence, because how do you stay true when it can make you very uncomfortable to do so? So how do you stay true when it can only make you very uncomfortable to do so?
So I'm not sure if I completely understand, but if you're in life, there's always going to be uncomfortable things. So if you're doing it from, I guess, your own desire to achieve and learn and grow, I guess I would say that's being true to yourself. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question.
Yeah, I think what I'm taking from it as well is, how do you stay true to yourself and still step out of your comfort zone? So it's something uncomfortable that you want to do. You're pushing yourself to do it, but you still want to stay true to yourself. So I say people just have to take the step, take the leap, make the jump. And like you said, I think another good thing is doing it a little bit at a time. If you are scared of heights and you want to get to level 10, today, just do level 1 for the week. And then maybe next week you do level 2. And then next week you do level 3. And you're slowly building yourself up versus going up all the way up to 9 and be like, oh my God, I can't do this, because you did it all at one time. So I think that's a good thing too, just doing bite size and getting there. And then to that point where you just have it.
Yeah, growing your capacities for confidence.
Exactly. Then Erika has said, any tips to feel confident if you are the only woman in the room?
So I'd say, look at what do you have that the men don't have. You might have more of a sensitivity to things. The way you're going to look at things are different. So you're bringing different things to the table. Yeah, the men might not always realize it. However, sometimes they need that aspect that, sometimes we're more sensitive, maybe not, but it's really just looking at, we all have different things to offer, men or ladies, different women have different things to offer, and look at those things that you're bringing to the table.
Yeah, she said, I find a lot of scenarios when I'm the sole woman around the boardroom table, and especially a woman of color, and we are in 2021. So that's very important. Yeah. Miriam says, awesome advice. How do you instill these concepts into young ladies, our daughters, nieces, granddaughters, and students?
Our kids, and I guess nieces, everything, students, we model for them. So if they see us doing all those things, they're more apt to be doing those things as well. So it's really be the model that you want them to be. So they're going to say, oh, my son recently had a presentation to do at school, and he doesn't like doing that and everything. And I was saying to my husband, I'm telling him that I'm going to be doing a presentation. Yeah, it can be uncomfortable. I'm nervous. It's like, all of this, but I'm doing it anyway. So him and I were talking in the car, and I was saying, a lot of things are scary. It doesn't mean mommy knows all these things, but I'm doing them too. So I guess that would be my answer there.
Okay. Delight says, skin in the game. Yes. When we take a risk and put skin in the game, we not only give ourselves permission to be authentic and follow our dreams, we give the world an opportunity to experience our God-given gifts. And then Francia has asked, what books or video or podcast do you recommend?
So I did my certification with the Life Coach School, and the founder of the Life Coach School is called Brooke Castillo, and she has a podcast which has a ton of things in it. So that is one of them. Also, there's a life coach that I enjoy who talks about confidence, and her name is Amy Latta. She does talk about confidence for coaches, but you can take a lot of that on yourself. And as far as books, I'm going to have to think about that one. I can always send me an email, and I'll think of what I could send you for that.
Okay, great. We have Maria Hilda who says, we can be hesitant because of experiences we've had with judgmental people, starting middle school and going forward. Recognize that everything people say to you is not necessarily true. It's also really helpful to surround ourselves with people, especially women, who can encourage us and remind us of all the great things about us. So that's great. And that's what we want to do here today, is build those connections, network, be around like-minded women that are like us and that are going to build us up. And so hopefully during some of these breakout sessions and some of these social media, we can be able to foster those relationships. We have Michelle White. When I went to university, only my third trip ever, I faked it till I made it. Walked in as if I earned the dorm because that's who I wanted them to see, not the shy person I really was. I know many people wouldn't believe it. I'm a different person now than I was many years ago by doing this. Yeah. And then we have our last comment, Tika Gilbert. I did a dare yesterday when I became an impromptu guest speaker at a Global Architect Alliances discussion yesterday.
Oh, that's fantastic. And there was a comment 2 comments ago where I don't remember the person's name, but she said that to realize that what other people are thinking is not necessarily true. And sometimes the things we're thinking is not true either. We think it's true, we think it's a fact, but it's just a story we're telling ourselves.
Yeah, so true. Okay, Nancy, well, thank you so much for joining us today, for empowering these ladies. I hope that each and every one of you have something to take away, something that you're going to do next week, start tomorrow, do bite sizes, and we're just looking forward to that connection. If you want to reach out to Nancy, please go to the speaker page. So on the platform, we have a list of speakers, and you can go on their page. You can see, get their information, and you can discuss things more. And so next up, we have the coffee break. And so during this break, we're asking people to get snacks, get something to eat or drink, and also go on social media. So you're going to be going on looking at the sponsors page, the vendors. We do have some vendor booths. We'll have a market later on, but you can go and look at these pages, see the different things that we have on the platform. Please be reminded that every time you look at the vendors, the sponsors, the speaker pages, you will get points, and those points will be adding up to some great prizes later on. So make sure you are checking out the platform. The platform is built by a new bourgeois that is going to be speaking later. She earns SHEQONOMI, and she's been helping me to get this platform together. It looks amazing. And so have your break. We have about 10 minutes to our next topic. We are going to be going into women in health, and that is going to be at 10 o'clock. You can go to the schedule, find it, click into that link. They will let you in about 5 minutes too. And so make sure network. During these social media posts, you can post up stuff. You can also hashtag or tag BEDC, SHEQONOMI, WEDC, and so we use those to have some prizes as well. When people are posting up, you can take a picture of the screen, say that you're at the conference, give some feedback. And so we're looking forward to seeing you back at our next panel discussion, which is going to be women in health. We have one more comment, so let me just open that. Oh, a new yay. All right, so take your break, stretch, get something to eat or drink, and we'll see you at 10 o'clock in our Women in Health. But most importantly, network with some other ladies. Check out Nancy's page, and hopefully you can make those connections. And Nancy, you may even, I don't know if you have the ability to go on your page and put some books there. If you also want to send me a list of books, podcasts or videos, and then I can share it with everyone at the conference as well. So whatever works for you, you can let me know.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
All right. Bye, ladies. See you later. See you in a few.